picture this. It's March 2014 in Brasília, Brazil. Federal police officers arrive at this pretty unremarkable car wash and gas station. They're expecting, a routine money laundering investigation.
Yes, standard procedure, they probably thought.
Exactly. They had absolutely no idea they were about to pull the first thread, the one that would unravel, well, the largest corruption scandal in the history of the Americas.
It's incredible when you think about it.
So today we're taking a deep dive into Operation Car Wash, or Jato as it's known in Brazil, and the just colossal Odebrecht scandal.
Right. And our sources, they really paint an astonishing picture of how systemic corruption became so deeply entrenched, across an entire continent.
Wow.
So our mission here is to unpack how this seemingly small investigation just exploded, became this political earthquake, revealed an industrial-scale bribery machine.
Industrial scale.
Yeah, and forever changed the relationship between citizens, corporations, and governments all across Latin America. What's fascinating here isn't just the sheer scale, which is mind-blowing, but the audacity, the sophistication of it all.
Okay, so we'll give you the crucial nuggets, those aha moments, and the surprising facts you need to understand this monumental event. Think of it as a shortcut, to being well-informed without getting totally overwhelmed.
Let's do it.
So, let's unpack this. Our story kicks off, like we said, March 2014, not in some fancy boardroom, but at this place called Posto de Torre, a quiet car wash gas station, kind of on the outskirts of Brasília. Investigators were targeting a money changer, a guy named Newton Ishii. They thought it was just a small-scale money laundering thing. Seemed pretty routine, right?
So that's exactly what they thought. But the surprise came fast. This wasn't about drug dealers or, petty criminals. Yeah. Investigators quickly found out the laundered money was actually connected to Petrobras, Brazil's state-owned oil giant, the crown jewel, they always called it, of the Brazilian economy.
Wow, okay. So that raises the question. How on earth did a car wash become the entry point to something that massive?
It really makes you wonder, doesn't it, how that humble spot could be the very first thread to pull on such a vast, really intricate network.
It does, and that unassuming location gave the whole operation its name, Lava Jato.
Yeah.
Literally, car wash in English.
Yeah, catchy.
It became more than just a name, though. It quickly became this symbol of hope for so many Brazilians. They were finally seeing maybe a chance for accountability for the untouchable elite, as they felt.
A long time coming for many people.
So it's incredible how something like a car wash could start all this. But for you to really get the scale, we need to understand how this industrial scale corruption actually worked, like mechanics of it. Can you walk us through what federal judge Sergio Moro and his team uncovered?
Absolutely. What they found was a core mechanism. Shockingly simple, really, in its design, but devastating. Construction companies would basically inflate prices on contracts with Petrobras artificially.
Okay, inflated prices.
Right. Then the excess money, the difference, was siphoned off. It got laundered through shell companies, currency dealers like that Ishii.
Ah, the connection.
Exactly. And then it was used to pay massive bribes directly to politicians, to Petrobras executives. And this wasn't like a one-off deal. No. This system ran for over a decade, systematically draining billions from Brazil's economy. It wasn't just, skimming a bit off the top.
Right.
They had their own internal accounting system, incredibly detailed records of bribes, favors, political influence peddling.
Wow, like a shadow company within the company.
Essentially, yeah. If you connect it to the bigger picture, it just shows how deeply embedded these schemes were, almost like a parallel economy running right alongside the legitimate one.
And the really big impact here. For the first time in Brazil's, modern democratic history, these incredibly powerful figures were actually being held accountable.
Yeah.
That was just a game changer.
Huge. Unprecedented, really.
So as the investigation pushed forward, it got clearer and clearer. This wasn't just Brazil, it went way beyond its borders. And right at the center of this even larger continental web of bribery was Odebrecht.
Ah, Odebrecht, the giant.
Latin America's largest construction company, family-owned conglomerate, founded way back in 1944. They built huge infrastructure projects all over Latin America, Africa too. Basically like the backbone of development in many places.
And this is where it gets truly, truly shocking. Despite spending decades cultivating this image, model corporate citizen.
Right, the good gas.
Odebrecht operated what prosecutors literally called the most sophisticated bribery machine in corporate history. This wasn't a few bad apples, right? This was institutionalized corruption.
Institutionalized? How so?
They had a department, a literal department called the Department of Structured Operations.
Structured operations.
Yeah, a total euphemism. It was basically a division whose sole job was managing bribes and illegal campaign contributions. It had its own budget, its own accounting system, even like internal code names for the officials they were bribing.
That's insane. It wasn't a side hustle, it was a core business unit.
Precisely. Illegality wasn't some mistake. It was a budgeted, planned, core business function baked right into their corporate DNA. It's really striking.
And the numbers tied to this, they are just genuinely staggering. Between 2001 and 2016, Odebrecht paid at least $788 million in documented bribes.
Documented.
Across 12 countries. But everyone agrees that figure, as jaw-dropping as it is probably just the tip of the iceberg.
Easily. The true figure is likely much, much higher.
What made the Odebrecht scandal so devastating then was this massive scope. It wasn't just isolated pockets of corruption.
No, not at all.
It was systematic. Undermining democratic institutions, economic development, like you said, from Mexico to Argentina. It's almost hard to imagine that kind of reach.
It really triggered a domino effect across the whole region. I mean, look at Peru. It implicated 3 former presidents. Three. And perhaps most tragically, Alan Garcia. Facing imminent arrest for Odebrecht bribes, he actually took his own life in April 2019. Chose death over facing trial.
Oh my God, that's incredibly stark. Heartbreaking. What does that specific outcome tell us, do you think, about the pressure they were under?
Well, it speaks volumes, doesn't it? About the immense stakes, the fear of that public reckoning, maybe the deep shame involved. The magnitude must have just felt crushing.
Yeah, unimaginable. And Peru was just one piece of it. What about elsewhere?
Well, Colombia, it implicated former President Juan Manuel Santos. It even complicated the really delicate peace process with FARC. Because some of the bribe-funded projects were actually supposed to be for post-conflict development. Tainted the whole effort.
Wow. Undermining peace efforts.
Exactly. And then Ecuador. It fueled major political instability, led to former President Rafael Correa fleeing to Belgium to avoid prosecution, completely undermined his legacy.
So instability, presidents implicated, fleeing justice.
Right. And countries like Argentina, Panama, also deeply entangled. Former President Ricardo Martinelli was arrested in Panama, after Odebrecht's involvement in huge projects there, including the Panama Canal expansion, believe it or not.
Even the Panama Canal. Okay, so the common thread weaving through all these countries is pretty clear then.
Absolutely. Odebrecht systematically corrupted key decision makers. They used carefully calibrated bribes, illegal campaign contributions, all to secure these incredibly lucrative and often hugely overpriced government contracts.
It just shows how deeply intertwined these networks became, almost like a parallel power structure.
You've got it.
So beyond these colossal financial figures, the billions, we really have to think about the profound human cost. This wasn't victimless crime, was it?
Not even close. Every single overpriced highway meant fewer schools could be built, right?
Less money for education.
Every inflated airport contract meant less money available for hospitals. Every bribe paid to get a water treatment plant deal meant some other community probably went without clean water.
That really brings it home. The direct impact on ordinary people's lives.
And in Brazil alone, these schemes cost the economy over $40 billion. That's just the direct cost. It doesn't even touch the broader damage, like to public trust, market distortion, all the misallocated resources.
40 billion, just staggering. It really forces you to ask, who truly pays the price for this kind of corruption?
Well, it's certainly not the powerful figures enriching themselves, is it?
No, that's such a crucial point. It's not just the financial loss. While these executives and politicians were lining their pockets, often funneling money into offshore accounts, buying luxury properties abroad, ordinary citizens were the ones struggling. Inadequate public services, limited opportunity, the inequality is just so stark.
It absolutely is.
Now, the legal response to Operation Car Wash, it was genuinely unprecedented, wasn't it?
Totally unprecedented for the region. Nearly 280 people convicted just in Brazil, including, and this was huge, former President Luiz Inácio Lula da Silva, imprisoned for corruption and money laundering. I mean, the sight of Brazil's most popular former president being arrested, being imprisoned, that sent shockwaves, not just in Brazil, but everywhere.
Absolutely. And the way they investigated it, that became influential too.
Hugely influential. The methodology Judge Moro's team pioneered. It became a kind of model for anti-corruption efforts globally. They used, everything. Sophisticated financial analysis, unprecedented international cooperation.
Right, working across borders.
Plea bargaining, which was key to getting insiders to talk. Yep. And controversially, the use of preventive detention for white-collar criminals.
Holding them before trial. That was new for these kinds of figures.
Very impactful for these high-profile individuals, yeah. A stark departure from previous norms where, the wealthy and powerful often avoided pre-trial detention.
Got it. And Odebrecht itself, the company at the center.
They faced the largest corporate corruption penalty in history. Agreed to pay over $3.5 billion in fines to authorities in Brazil, the U.S., Switzerland.
$3.5 billion.
Yeah. Led to massive restructuring within the company, basically broke the old Odebrecht. It really demonstrates that knowledge, understanding how these schemes operate, is crucial if you actually want to dismantle them.
And the political fallout was just as massive. It completely reshaped Latin American politics, didn't it?
Fundamentally. The scandal contributed directly to President Dilma Rousseff's impeachment in Brazil.
Right.
And it played a really significant role in the rise of Jair Bolsonaro,
yeah,
who, powerfully positioned himself as the anti-corruption candidate.
Riding that wave of public anger.
Exactly. But it's crucial to understand the layers here. It wasn't simple. While loads of people celebrated the rule of law finally being upheld, others argued quite strongly that the investigation was selectively applied, maybe unfairly targeting some politicians, particularly from the left, while seeming to overlook others.
The political bias accusation.
Precisely. Lula's imprisonment, especially, became this deeply polarizing issue, still shapes Brazilian politics today. And across the region, this whole affair led to a profound crisis of confidence.
In democracy itself.
In democratic institutions, yeah, and in traditional political parties. It often fueled the rise of these outsider candidates promising to clean house. Though sometimes, ironically, they ended up facing their own scandals down the line.
It's a complex cycle. Now, Odebrecht's reach was truly global. That must have required international cooperation on the law enforcement side.
Oh, absolutely. Unprecedented cooperation. The U.S. Department of Justice played a really crucial role, actually, using the Foreign Corrupt Practices Act, the FCPA.
The FCPA. That's the American law allowing them to prosecute bribery abroad.
Exactly. Even if the bribery happens outside the U.S., if the company has U.S. ties, like listing on stock exchanges or using U.S. banks, they can go after them.
Interesting. So that cooperation was key.
Groundbreaking, really. It showed corruption couldn't just hide behind national borders anymore. Even powerful multinationals could be held accountable. But it also raised some tricky questions, right? About national sovereignty, about the potential for, let's say, foreign interference in domestic political situations.
I see. A double-edged sword.
A bit. And the scandal really threw a spotlight on the role of offshore financial centers, places like Panama, Switzerland, the Cayman Islands.
The places the money gets hidden.
Right. It just strongly emphasized the need for global, concerted action against the very systems that make large-scale corruption possible in the first place.
So after diving deep into all of this, this huge, complex story, what are the key lasting lessons? What should you, our listener, really take away from Operation Car Wash and Odebrecht?
Well, I think there are a few big ones. First, systematic corruption like this, it requires institutional capture. It's not just bribing a few individuals here and there.
It's taking over the system itself.
Exactly. Controlling entire decision-making processes, whole departments within a company or a government agency. That's lesson one.
Okay.
What else? Second, corruption adapts. It adapts to and really exploits globalization. Odebrecht used international financial systems, cross-border operations, used them brilliantly, actually, for illicit purposes.
Right. Globalization cuts both ways.
It does. And third, strong institutions are vital. Yeah. And so is a vigilant civil society. We're talking independent media, active NGOs, a truly autonomous judiciary. They are all absolutely crucial for combating this stuff.
So institutional capture, global exploitation, and the need for strong watchdogs. That makes sense.
Yeah. And it's also, maybe a final thought,
right.
The investigation achieved unprecedented results, no doubt. But it also really showed how deeply entrenched corruption can be.
And how messy removing it can be.
Exactly. How the very act of removing it can, maybe ironically, create significant political and economic instability. Which leads to that really challenging question. How do societies balance that undeniable need for accountability with the crucial desire for stability?
That is the tough question, isn't it? No easy answers there.
Yeah.
When historians look back, though, it seems clear the Car Wash and Odebrecht scandals will be seen as, watershed moments.
Absolutely.
Moments that fundamentally change relationships between citizens, corporations, governments across an entire continent.
Yeah.
The sheer scale of the corruption, the sophistication of the schemes, and that continental reach, it really does make this unquestionably the largest fraud in South and Central American history.
It truly is, and it serves as this stark warning, how pervasive corruption undermines democracy, how it distorts economies, how it perpetuates inequality, often for generations.
Warning, yes.
But, and this is important, it also shows that even the most powerful actors can be held accountable. It is possible. When civil society, independent institutions, dedicated public servants, when they manage to work together. The incredible story that started at that modest car wash in Brasília. It's really a continuing story, isn't it? A continent's ongoing struggle to build more transparent, more accountable, more just forms of governance.
So what does this all mean for you listening now? I think it's a powerful reminder that fighting corruption needs constant vigilance. It needs unwavering institutional strength, especially because new schemes, new actors, they inevitably emerge.
Always adapting.
Always adapting. So maybe something to think about. How might these profound lessons from Latin America apply to challenges elsewhere, in other parts of the world, maybe even closer to home? Something to mull over as you continue your own explorations into the world's most interesting topics.